Last Saturday, Keeneland had 5 stakes races. This Saturday, we have 3 claimers and 3 maiden special weights. My type of card. Let's cap it all. Salutations and welcome, friends. I'm your host for this episode of Capping the Card. My name is Matthew DeSantis. You can find me on Twitter at the handle @FailedToMenace. And before we get started, just want to thank everybody for watching our content, and make sure to press that like button. Make sure to subscribe to Trust the Profits for all of our content, whether it is a Capping the Card, whether it's daily doubles, whether it is Breeders' Cup content. We have you covered from coast to coast, tracks from New York to California, everywhere in between. This week, Capping the Card, we are going to be somewhere in between in Kentucky for Keeneland's card on Saturday. If you are new to Capping the Card, just to give you a kind of a synopsis of what we're going to be doing, I go through the entire card, races 1 through 10 in the case of Saturday at Keeneland. The highlight, of course, is the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup Stakes. And that is in the 9th race of the day, featuring some really top caliber female turf runners, McCulloch and others. Very, very good race. And so we'll talk about that. But on this particular segment, and in this particular show, what I do is I give you 2 horses in each race. I give you the most likely winner, and I also give you a long shot, a value play. It's an easy way to get a sense of the card. I try to do it in a very quick format. We have 10 races. I'll try to get through this in 30 minutes or less. And so this way, it just gives you a little bit more knowledge about the card. If you don't have time to handicap it on your own, you can use this as a little bit of a shortcut. If you had plenty of time to handicap the card and you just want to hear somebody else's opinion, I hope you value mine, and I thank you for tuning in. And I also am going to be including all of the Stable Duel prices. So Stable Duel is a fantasy sports horse racing game where you can play for real money. It's a lot of fun. I play it all the time. If you follow me on Twitter at the handle @FailedToMenace, I give out tons of long shot plays, tons of plays for Stable Duel at tracks across the country. It's a really fun way to play an entire card without having to put together a pick 4, pick 5, pick 6 sequence. The beautiful part about Stable Duel is you get points for your horse finishing first, second, third, fourth, even fifth. So you don't have to win every single race to accumulate points. The person who accumulates the most points at the end of the race, at the end of the day, that's the person who ends up winning the contest. You have to pick 10 horses with a fantasy stable salary cap of $50,000. And so one of the things you'll see is when I share my graphics, I'll also include the Stable Duel prices. So if you're playing on Stable Duel, this is a nice way to get some lower dollar horses, because of course you can't just use favorites in Stable Duel. You have to balance that salary cap and use some long shots in there. Hopefully I'll turn you on to a couple of those. Last week, I gave you a winner in the bailout race. I didn't give you a ton of winners, but I did give you a 10-1 winner in the bailout race, who was morning line 6-1. It actually floated all the way up to 10-1. Call Me Fast. Nice horse, and won by 9 lengths, won by a huge margin. And so that was, hopefully some of you cashed on that horse. I know I did. Definitely used it in Stable Duel as well. Well, listen, enough of me pontificating. Let's get straight into the card at Keeneland on Saturday. And we'll kick things off in race 1, which is a $32,000 claimer, which is going 1.16 miles on the dirt for 3-year-olds and up. My most likely winner here is the morning line favorite, the number 5 Backside of the Moon. This horse is going off at 8-5, trained by Robertino Diodoro, jockeyed by Tyler Gaffalione. And in Stable Duel, that horse is going to cost you $9,400. So pretty expensive purchase in Stable Duel. Why do I like this horse in this race? Well, it's a horse that's won 2 straight. This is also the second back from the layoff. So it was particularly impressive. This horse won the race that put this horse into a layoff, then won the first race back. I think that's pretty good. This is a lower level race than this horse normally runs in, but still Diodoro seems to be just wanting to rack up wins with this horse. Seems like he's able to do that here. And so, like I said, second back from a layoff, winner of 2 straight. Gaffalione has been traditionally someone who you can trust in Kentucky, has gotten off to a little bit of a slow start this Keeneland meet, only winning 8% of his mounts. But Tyler is someone who typically just rakes up at Keeneland and Churchill. So you'd have to think that's going to turn on at some point. The other thing is the number 6 horse in this race, Frosted Grace. who's the second favorite, is a perfectly good horse, but lost to Backside of the Moon last time out. And quite frankly, Frosted Grace didn't have an excuse. Kind of had the perfect trip and wasn't able to win. So it does make me think what's going to be any different this time around. This is not a horse that's pace compromised in terms of the number 5 Backside of the Moon, and really has only had 2 bad races over the last year, one of which sent him to the bench for a prolonged period of time, and one after coming back from that bench. Like I said, this most recent layoff was only a couple of months, and that was not an issue as he won races on both sides of those. So Backside of the Moon seems like a pretty logical play. The best value, I like the number 1, Mr. Tip, at 12-1. I like the connections. Mike Maker, Luis Saez, only $750 in Stable Duel. This is another horse that's also second back from the layoff. Another thing that you're going to hear me say a lot today, this is a horse that is coming in from Kentucky Downs. These Kentucky Downs shippers run huge at Keeneland, and they usually run at a good price. So horse coming in from Kentucky Downs has been running in some higher level allowance races. So this is also class relief. The best efforts that this horse has that are absolutely good enough to win. This horse should have a little bit of pace to run out. The number 4 horse and the number 7 horse both seem like they want to have front running trips. This is a horse that has the nice closing speed. Like I said, doesn't need to get a good start from that number 1 hole because he doesn't mind getting pinched back. So I don't mind this horse kind of just saying, listen, I'll take back a little bit, save ground, make a run late. I think that's what Louis probably going to do with the number 1, not try to put him on the lead or anything along those lines. So at 12-1, it's certainly a lot of value there. So I like the 5 as the winner, the 1 as a value play. So let's move to the second race, which is $100,000 maiden special weight, which is going 1 mile on the turf for 2-year-olds. I love 2-year-olds. Anybody who follows me on Twitter at the handle @FailedToMenace, you know that I love talking juveniles. I love 2-year-olds. So excited for the Breeders' Cup juveniles races this year at Keeneland. Going to be a blast. So who do I like in this race? This is a huge field, 12-horse field. I think there's also 4 horses that are also eligible that may very well draw in. There's a couple of horses that are intriguing. I usually don't give out also eligibles on this show just because it's very possible they don't end up running. So who did I end up on? Sadly, I ended up on the favorite. Now, the favorite is 3-1 in this case because it's such a large field, and I really wanted to try to get around this horse. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't get around the 11. The Evaluate, which is 3-1 in the morning line. You see the connections. Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz Jr., winning at a 31% clip at Keeneland. This is going to cost you $8,000 on Stable Duel. So a little bit of less of an investment than in the first race with the favorite, but still a significant amount of your budget. Why do I like the number 11 here? Well, a few things. One, shipping in from Kentucky Downs. Have you heard that before? So that's an angle that we like. This horse already did a mile as well. A lot of these horses are stretching out for the first time or stretched out unsuccessfully last time out. A lot of these horses, went 5.5, 6.5 furlongs. Some went to a mile last time and just looked completely gassed. Some went to 7 furlongs and looked gassed. And so when you're starting to look through a lot of these running lines, it's hard to find horses that you go, well, there's something there. Because when you even dig into pedigrees, in a lot of cases, distance is not always their friend. So a lot of these horses seem to be better set up for turf sprinting rather than turf routing. Evaluate's one of the few that I think does have good pedigree underneath and up top for turf routing. Took 2, I think going a mile last time out perfectly fine. And here's the big thing, getting the blinkers put on. This horse just didn't get off very well last time. I think Chad and Irad are going to be a little bit more intentional this time, getting the blinkers on, especially from that far outside post. You'd expect Irad to be aggressive out of the gate, try to cross and clear a lot of horses, save ground in this mile trip. I think if this horse stays more engaged early, this is a really strong horse, I have a feeling. But now there is value in this race. I do like the number 5 horse, Royal Salute. This is a horse at 12-1. This is a Brian Lynch first-time starter with Declan Cannon up. Only going to cost you $750 on Stable Duel, so less than 1% of your overall budget, or around 1%, I should say, of your overall budget of the $50,000 salary cap. The beauty is of this first-time starter, very good pedigree. The sire produces 14% first-time out winners, 23% turf route winners. So this is absolutely what this horse is bred to do. The dam was a pure turf miler as well, has produced turf route winners. Now, she's not produced a lot of first out winners, but again, the pedigree's there in terms of the distance and the surface to suggest this is going to be something this horse can take well to. Some nice 5 furlong workouts leading into this. I always look for that with first time starters. A lot of people who do the clocking, watch the morning workouts will always say anybody can do a nice 4 furlong workout. It's whether or not you can do a nice 5 furlong workout that usually separates horses a little bit. This horse has turned in some nice 5 furlong works. Definitely like that. Plus, Brian Lynch is a trainer I trust with younger horses. 23% winning percentage with 2-year-old races, 14% winning first time out. Those are really strong numbers in the trainer game. So I think Royal Salute 12-1. I'd expect this horse to show out and run well. If you want to take a swing up top in a big race, I absolutely wouldn't blame you in a big field. But using underneath, you're going to get a lot of value here, even if you see some chalk up top. Well, let's move to race number 3 on the card, and that is a $20,000 claimer. I love these claimers. For as much as Keeneland has the graded stakes races, I do love some claimers. And this is a 7 furlong on the dirt for 3-year-old fillies and up. Here's what I would say about this race. Spread. If you're playing a pick sequence, I would spread here. Now, I have a most likely winner, but compared to this one to the last race, I probably have less of a strong feeling about the number 7 here, Super Tale of Houdini. I do like this horse up top. I think this horse is the most likely winner. One of the things I do not like the favorite in this race. The favorite is a horse that is going off a 2-1 in the morning line and got a big win at Finger Lakes, but outside of that has looked very, very pedestrian, and that's being kind. And so I just don't see that favorite as being one that I can trust at all. So I look beyond that to a couple of other horses. And Super Tale of Houdini, I think, just kind of is the best combo of horse and jockey. What I mean is there's some maybe better jockeys in this race, but I like the quality of this horse along with Raylu Gutierrez on the mount. Raylu's a jockey I really like a lot. He's given a lot of good rides at Keeneland already this meet. And so this is a horse that, if you take a look, this horse has good form. It's bad races. You can easily draw a line through those bad races where you're typically on turf or on off-track conditions, meaning sloppy, sealed conditions. Otherwise, this is a very honest horse. Absolutely doesn't need to be in the lead. Will be able to slot in wherever he's best, starting further from the outside. So Raylu will be able to judge the pace, slot this horse in at the best spot, and then make a move late. I just think this race sets up nicely for Super Tale of Houdini. And again, in Stable Duel, only $6,500, not going to cost you a ton of money for a horse that I think has a really live shot at winning. Now, on the other side, best value, I do like another 12-1 shot here. The number 1 horse, Ball Lightning. This is a horse that Jeremiah Englehart trained. Luis Saez is in the mount. This horse is coming second back from a layoff, is coming off an all-weather surface down at Gulfstream. I typically like, a lot of people like this angle of the all-weather surface to dirt. You typically see a little bit of a bounce there. Certainly we saw a big time with Rich Strike in the Kentucky Derby. Additionally, this is a horse that actually broke its maiden on dirt, and then they moved it to turf and synthetic since then. But this horse broke maiden on dirt. Jeremiah Englehart claimed him in a claiming $10,000 race. Now he's running him in a $20,000 claimer. So clearly he likes this horse. Englehart's 22% off the claim. Like I said, this horse has some versatility as well, breaking from that number 1 hole. This horse can be near the lead. This horse can also close late. So this horse does have some versatility as one going both ways. I like that. Gives Louis some options from that number 1 hole. Well, let's go to the 4th race on the card, which is another claimer, a $40,000 claimer, which is 6 furlongs on the dirt for 3-year-olds and up. And this is one where, the favorite, Macron, there's kind of 2 very close co-favorites. The number 5 horse is 2-1 in this particular race, but I actually like this, maybe the tale of 2 blinkers, if you will. The number 5 horse is getting blinkers put on. The number 6 horse is getting blinkers taken off. I actually like the move of getting the blinkers off. Asmussen's horse in this case has very, very good speed. Ricardo Santana Jr. is going to let this horse go, but he's not going to, I think, try to get into a blistering pace duel with the 5. I think he's going to be happy to let the 5 go to the lead and sit off of that 5, breaking to the outside of him as well. So I think that's going to work. This horse put in a huge effort 3 back, then kind of bounced on a pretty sloppy track. And The last time out was concerning, but I'm willing to forget that. I'm willing to forgive, maybe not forget, but I'm willing to forgive that last effort and say, you know, something, just let's chalk that up to just a bad effort at Remington Park, and now we're going to come back. We're going to run better. Asmussen typically, when he drops these horses into claimers, does it for a reason and usually has a pretty high strike rate. Like I said, this horse has run well at the optional claimer and allowance level. If you look back before he was running in Stakes Company. So, like I said, this horse is also kind of dropping in class in some ways. Like I said, I think the getting the blinkers taken off is ideal, and this horse should sit second and get a pretty nice trip all the way around. Now, in terms of value, there's not a ton in this race, but I do like the number 3 with a little bit of value at 9-2, Lieutenant Junior Grade. There's a horse trained by Alexis Clare and jockeyed by Corey Lannery. This feels like a very safe underneath play, in my opinion. This horse is 11 for 16 in the money for their lifetime. This horse is actually 5 for 9 winning at this distance in his career. So it's a horse that absolutely can get to the finish line first. And I would say if the 5 and the 6, if you think those two are going to wipe each other out, then the 3 makes a ton of sense because the 3 has the ability to close. Now, I think the 6 is with the blinkers off is going to be able to sit. I don't think that pace is going to fall apart as much. But if you think the 5 and 6 are going to just beat each other up, then the 3, like I said, has really strong late pace numbers. I think can sit and a little bit off the pace, sit mid pack, and then make a run. Has won multiple ways as well. A lot of versatility there for Corey to go that way. And even though Alexis Clare might not be a name that is a household name nationally, this is a trusted claimer in the claiming ranks, trainer, I should say, in the claiming ranks. 25% winners with a 249 ROI. So absolutely someone you should trust at this level to get a horse ready to go. Let's move to the 5th race of the day, which is a $140,000. Talk about a nice size allowance race. Mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-olds and up. And this features a lot of really big named horses. And, you know, there's a Chad Brown horse in this race that I am going to try to beat. And I'm not going to try to beat him with some crazy long shot, but I do like the number 4 In Love for Paulo Lobo. This is a horse that's 3-1 on the morning line, second choice on the morning line, jockeyed by Julian Leperoux, $8,000 in stable duel. Why do I like the number 4 In Love so much? A couple of reasons. One, getting class relief, honestly. Ran 4 straight grade 1s last year. Also won the grade 1 turf mile at Keeneland last year. So this is a horse that can run well, obviously in a big spot on that Keeneland turf, likes that Keeneland turf. That's a good thing. Also is going to have pace. This race is going to have a lot of pace, and the closers are going to like this. The 1 and the 8, maybe even the 9, are going to want to go in this race. So that is a positive, I would say. There's going to be an honest pace for them to run at. In Love is a horse that likes to sit a little further back and then make one big run. This horse also second back from a layoff, Kentucky down shipper. Here's another, I'll give you a statistic if you like stats. Paulo Lobo, granted, has only run 5 horses at Keeneland this meet. 4 of them have finished in the top 2. Okay, so he's 80% in the exacta among the horses that he has started. So he's clearly getting these horses ready and primed for this Kentucky meet. I also really like the jockey change. This horse had been jockeyed by Alex Achard, and no disrespect to Achard, but I think this horse really fits Leperoux quite well. Leperoux's a jockey who likes to make that one big move, and I think the way this race sets up, In Love is a horse that kind of is going to give that one big move. So 3-1, getting a little bit of value there. Try to beat the Chad Brown horse in this particular race. Chad Brown's horse, second back from a layoff, but I just haven't been that impressed with that horse to this point. If you're looking for a little bit more value, look to the number 3 horse, Kentucky Ghost. A lot of what I said about In Love can be replicated here. Another horse that has been keeping very good company. Another horse that likes to sit a little further back and then make a run. Now, this horse does maybe like a little cut in the ground, tends to do his best running on like good surfaces, not firm necessarily. Has one on firm though. And if you go back and look at his track record in allowance races, really racks up a lot of wins and second places. So always super competitive. And like I said, will benefit from a pace up front. So like I said, a little bit more value there with 5-1 for Kentucky Ghost. Well, let's move to the back half of the card. Let's move to the sixth race, which is another $100,000 maiden special weight, mile and a 16th on the dirt for 3-year-old nose and up for fillies. And this is one, honestly, if I was playing a pick sequence, I may just single this 7. This is a really good Brad Cox horse. And the reason I say that is this horse already won. You say, Matthew, she's in a maiden special weight. Indeed. She got disqualified. And so she didn't win, but she is the best speed in this race. And quite frankly, there is really not a lot of other speed in this particular race. So I like this horse quite a bit in this spot. I think this is a horse that will just get to the lead and go, and really won't have any issues there. So there's really nobody even close to the same level of speed that Sunny River has in this particular spot. So again, I just a lot of things I like there about the way this race sets up for the Brad Cox horse. Also, this horse, even though it's won before, finished second a few times as well, has really never run poorly. Okay. Has run 4 times, 3 seconds, and that disqualified first. Interestingly enough, in that race where she was disqualified, she was also a front running horse. She actually went gate to wire. And so she's going to get the exact same trip there. I think she closes the deal and gets the win this time out. But Sunny River is absolutely a horse I like here to single 8-5. Going to cost you a little bit of money. Really like this horse. Now, if you're looking for a little bit more value, you want to play against the favorite, take a look at the number 8 horse, Forever at All. Only 7-2, so not huge value, but this is an Albert Stall Jr. horse jockeyed by Ricardo Santana Jr. Only going to cost you $7,500 in stable duel, as opposed to the $9,400 for Sunny River. Forever at All, this horse may have a little bit of hang, not entirely. It's tough to tell with really super young horses. 3 straight second place finishes. It's not as if it was second by a nose, second by a neck. I mean, it was second by a little bit, and a lot of those horses have come back to win next time out. So losing to good competition. Best ride, though, actually came with Ricardo Santana aboard 2 back, and now you get Ricardo back on board here. I think this horse is getting a slight cutback from going a mile and an eighth, now going back to a mile and a 16th. And this horse should sit just off Sunny River. So if you think Sunny River may get worn out up on the front end, this is a horse that, like I said, feels logical to come maybe late with a little bit of a run coming down the stretch. So Forever at All, 7-2, a little bit more value. Not a ton, though, in this particular race. So let's move to race 7, which is the final of our maiden special weights. This is another $100,000 one, which is 1 mile on the turf for 2-year-olds. Another 2-year-old race. Fantastic. So where are we going to go with this? We're going to go with the number 4 horse, Worthington. This is a horse that ran really well last time out in its maiden debut. 7-2 in the morning line. Mike Maker, Tyler Gaffleone. I already mentioned that Tyler's a jockey that tends to heat up in Kentucky. Mike Maker had a great Kentucky Downs meet, so his barn is firing right now as well. Worthington, like I said, ran really well, I thought, last time out, showed really good tactical speed, broke from the 11 hole last time out, and was able to cross and clear and sit second early on and really throughout that race. Faded to third late, but again, I just think showed a lot of class, being able to overcome a really far outside post position, and also Kentucky Downs shipper as well. So that first race at Kentucky Downs, now coming to Keeneland, really think this horse is going to pop and run a big race in this particular effort. And like I said, it showed a lot of good tactical speed to be able to go out and make its own race, make its own trip, and not be subject to what somebody else wants to do. When you break from the far outside post and you're able to cross and clear and get and sit second, that tells me this horse has some speed to be able to be versatile in what Tyler wants to do. Now, that said, I am intrigued by a long shot here, and I should mention the number 8 horse, Daryl's Bolt. If you're into pedigree, that's a potential pedigree play. That horse is, I think, 15-1 on the morning line, but its dam has produced 37% turf route winners. So just give that as a piece of advice. So that's certainly a horse to think about. But the horse that I'll go to for best value is actually the number 9 horse, Team Leader. This horse is 10-1 on the morning line, only going to cost you $1,000 in stable duel. Why do I like this horse? Well, it's Godolphin owned and bred, so that's a part of it. But what I really like is Brendan Walsh. Brendan Walsh putting blinkers on this horse. That is a winning move for Brendan Walsh. Why do I say that? You go back to one of the biggest days his barn had this year. What helped Santon and New Year's Eve get over the hump in the same weekend of the Kentucky Derby? It was blinkers on. So he put blinkers on both Santon and New Year's Eve. Both got great stakes wins at Churchill. As soon as he did that, really changed both horses quite a bit. So he seems to have a good sense of when to put blinks on those turf horses. Walsh's barn notoriously does run very hot and very cold. Right now, he's 0 for 11 at Keeneland. I just can't imagine a barn this good is going to remain kind of sitting on the schneid, so to speak. So I think Team Leader's in for a big race. This horse didn't run poorly. I think you add the blinkers. Also, it's getting a surface switch coming to turf for the first time. I actually like that change. One of its siblings across, that horse actually broke its maiden on the Keeneland turf. So there's plenty of turf pedigree to suggest that's the way to go. So Team Leader 10-1, you're going to get a little bit of value there. In a wide open maiden special weight, really like that horse. Well, let's move to the 8th race on the card, which is $110,000 allowance race, which is 6 furlongs on the dirt for 3-year-olds and up who are fillies and mares. And you're not seeing double. If you're looking at the screen right now, I have the exact same likely winner and the exact same best value. And that is the number 1, Ain't Broke. I wanted to give you a bigger value play, but honestly, best value was the best horse and the best value, or Ain't Broke, I should say, was the best value and the most likely winner. The other 2 horses that I kind of like, the number 5 and the number 6 horse, they're actually at lower odds than the number 1 horse. So I just said, hey, I'll give you this one for both. I really like this horse in this race. 4-1 on the morning line. Brett Calhoun, a trainer I really like a lot. If you follow Midwestern Texas racing, Brett Calhoun, big name. Ray Luke Gutierrez, the 2 of them team up a lot, whether that be at Fairgrounds, whether that be at Sam Houston or Lone Star or Oak Lawn. So, those 2 team up a lot. $7,000 in stable duel. This horse is breaking from the inside, and the beauty is this horse, it's got one way to win, which is to go. And I actually kind of like the fact that this horse is breaking from the inside because there's no overthinking the strategy. Ray Lou knows exactly what he needs to do here, which is get this horse out and get this horse on the lead. And the beauty is this horse has the speed and should be the speed of this particular field. At 6 furlongs, I think this horse is kind of a cinch. I really like this horse in this spot. Another potential single candidate. Some of the horses that are underneath just feel like they have seconditis, some of the other horses. So I just think, particularly the favorite, Cancel This, that's a horse that just, again, doesn't seem to want to get over the hump. Seems to finish second a lot. Ain't Broke as a horse coming off of breaking its maiden. I think you're going to see big things here from the number 1, Ain't Broke. And like I said, it's both my likely winner and my value play in the 8th race. Well, let's move to the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup Stakes. This is the big race on the card for Saturday at Keeneland. And my top pick is McCulloch. There were a lot of ways I wanted to go here. Some people would say, well, let's go to the other Chad, Gina Romantica. Okay, maybe. Some people would say, well, what about Bella Bell, the West Coast turf horse? I typically don't like West Coast turf horses shipping east. Now, if it was Spenderella, that's another thing. But Spenderella, who beat Bella Bell by about 4.5 lengths last time out, Spenderella sadly is on the shelf. I just look at this, and McCulloch just seems to have the class of this field. Is even odds on the morning line. Again, Chad and Irad, 31% hit rate, 26, and that's after 26 races at Keeneland. So that 31% win rate is not, a cheap number necessarily after, a small N, so to speak. This horse has never finished out of the money, has won 2 of its last 3, including a Grade 1 and a Grade 3. Here's the other reason I like McCulloch in this field. This is not a large field. Okay, this is a 7-horse field. McCulloch's a horse that usually sits in the back. Maybe some days I would be worried, will McCulloch give herself too much to do? I don't think so. And I don't think so because this field's not going to be that spread out. I don't think McCulloch's going to be more than 5 or 6 lengths back at the worst. So she's not going to give herself too much to do. I think she's going to have a perfectly good trip. Irad's going to, I think, make sure that she doesn't need to save ground. She can kind of, sit in the 2-path, 3-path and go around there. I don't think that's a problem. Like I said, when this horse unleashes that turn of foot, she is very, very good at that. Now, this is going to cost you a lot of money on stable duel, $10,000. And so because of that, maybe you want to look in a different direction. If you do, I already mentioned a couple of other horses in this race. Bella Bell is a horse 5-1 on the morning line. I like, but I don't love at that price. Paris Peacock. This is a horse making his North American debut, 10-1. Jessica Harrington, trainer, very trusted trainer overseas. Florent Giroux aboard. I would encourage you, if you have your daily racing form numbers up there, if you look at DRF, look at the difference between the time form figures of what Bella Bell ran over in Europe and look at what Paris Peacock ran over in Europe. Those two don't look anything alike. Now, Bella Bell came over and won 2 straight races and finished second and a third. Okay. Paris Peacock, by all accounts, looks to be a better class of horse than Bella Bell in terms of profile coming over. So there's a lot to like there with Paris Peacock. I think a horse that's won 2 straight, and this is not a horse that's coming off a long layoff, making a North American debut. Just ran the middle of last month, so this horse is actually on its regular running cycle at running kind of about once a month, every month. So really like Paris Peacock here at 10-1. I will give another shout out if you're looking for another horse, and I don't want to steal the thunder of a good friend of mine, Sarah El Badwi, who for Horse Racing Nation, who I think is going to also maybe mention this horse, but California Angel at 15-1 also feels like a horse that in Stable Duel you might want to use, only $500 in that space. California Angel, of course, the horse that won the Jessamine last year. A lot of people really love that horse, California Chrome Baby. George Leonard, great horse person and a great trainer. Second back from the layoff, actually shortening up a bit for California Angel. So a little bit to like there for this particular race. But like I said, I see McCulloch winning with Paris Peacock presenting the best value. Well, let's close out with the bailout race, see if we can get you another winner and see if I can get you a winner at a huge price. And this is a $20,000 starter allowance, 6 furlongs on the dirt for 3-year-olds and up. And in this race, I love the number 9 horse, Divine Leader, at 15-1 for John Ennis, jockeyed by Edgar Morales. Only going to cost you $500 on Stable Duel. Why do I like a 15-1 horse so much? This horse is coming off a layoff. Now, a lot of times we talk about second off a layoff. We do that because typically horses run best second or third time off a layoff, but not all horses. Divine Leader is not one of those horses. Divine Leader runs best coming off a layoff. This horse has come back from a layoff 4 times in his career and run lights out every single time, and typically actually gets a little bit worse the more often he runs. So this horse, when he runs, get this, the last 3 times he's run, he has always run significantly better speed figures than the last time out. 3 for 3 winning off similar length layoffs, actually. Has run up against some good competition, including a horse like Baby Yoda. This is a very, very good horse. Like I said, this horse is coming off about a 2.5-month layoff, a little bit of a freshening, not a super long one. That's exactly the same sort of length this horse has come off before. This horse runs a big number every single time that comes off the layoff. Really like that angle. And I like Edgar Morales as a jockey, so I think this plays out nicely. Now, there's a lot of speed in this race. Divine Leader does tend to be near the front. I have a feeling the number 7 horse is going to be the speed of the speed and may go a little just really breakneck up front. My hope is Divine Leader sits second or third, which has shown the ability to do in the past. So that's kind of my hope. If you're looking for a horse that's maybe a little bit more consistent, and if you think this race is going to break down because of speed, I would encourage you to take a look at the number 11 horse, the Queen Jewels, only appropriate on Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup Stakes Day. This is a 6-1 horse, trained by Thomas Van Berg and jockeyed by Florent Giroux. Name I feel like I've said a lot today. I think Flo's got a couple live horses at Keeneland on Saturday. This is a horse that we should absolutely benefit if there is that breakneck early speed. We'll sit kind of second, third, fourth. Very consistent horse at 6-1. Absolutely a horse to use underneath. But I could see this horse also taking advantage of a pace scenario. So that was 1 through 10. Did it in about 30 minutes. Hope this gives you a few choices in terms of putting together some cards. Maybe you have some new horses to add into a pick sequence. Maybe you considered using some of these horses and different exotics that you're putting together. Maybe you just decide to use some straight win bets. Whatever it is, I wish you all of the best betting on Saturday at Keeneland. And make sure to like and subscribe. Trust the Profits. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at the handle at Failed to Menace. Until next time, friends, remember that it's now post time.